ほら、ルフィ、今一緒に海賊になる仲間を探してるんだ。
Hello guys, welcome to my channel The Wandering Zoro, your go-to destination for anime-related content. And if you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss out on our latest videos. In today's video, we're going to be diving into part 1 of the series, so be sure to stick around until the end. And let's get started. Residents of the Midoriyas. The sun was rising. People were going out to do their daily activities like working, studying, or just staying at home, like sleeping, which a guy with freckles on his cheeks, emerald eyes, and messy green hair was doing right now. This is Izuku Midoriya, who was sleeping peacefully in his room when suddenly, beep, 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 beep. The alarm clock was going off when suddenly a tentacle literally came out of Izuku's back and simply hit the alarm clock hard, which consequently destroyed it. Unone character, "Shut up, you alarm clock from hell," said a monstrous voice that showed to be irritated, while Izuku sat on his own bed, still a little sleepy, just rubbing his eyes. "Izuku, this was the third one you broke. Did you really need to do that?" He said, still a little sleepy, but he was still aware of what just happened. Unone character. "And it's my fault this thing is too loud?" The question of that voice made Izuku roll his eyes. "Besides, we don't need that. Izuku, as much as I understand you, Grin, we better have an alarm clock just in case," he said while stretching his arms to release the morning energy from his body. "By the way, what time is it now?" The symbiote known as Grin used one of its tentacles to grab Izuku's cell phone to deliver it into his hand, and when turning on the device to see the time, Izuku kept his eyes open as he got up from the bed. "Izuku, all right, time to get up. Insert soundtrack, Alive Warblide Jets." Inside the bathroom of his house, Izuku looked at himself in the mirror while the boy was brushing his teeth. As for the Grin, come on, boy. You have to look nice, neat, and you have to make a good impression there. Who knows, maybe you can have a female for you in U.A, he said in an excited tone with the intention of encouraging the boy, who was concentrating on his morning hygiene. "Izuku, Grin, I'm not going there for these things, and you already know that," he said a little before washing his mouth, but it was noticeable that he blushed a little at that. "Grin, if you want to be a virgin for your whole life, that's your problem. But as long as you're with me, that won't happen, big boy." "Izuku, okay, that's enough." After that, Izuku took a shower, ate his breakfast along with Grin, who was eating a chocolate in secret from the Greenish Man family. And when he finished putting on his U.A uniform, putting on his red sneakers, putting his backpack on his back, and saying goodbye to his family, Izuku found himself ready to start his day. "Izuku, bye, Mom," was the only thing he said before closing the door and walking down the hall of the building. But before he could continue, "Grin, hey Izuku, I thought a way to get there fast and without having to take the train." His words made the boy stop walking. "Izuku, really? What do you mean? What are you thinking?" he asked, curious but suspicious, as a grayish-black mass with some green parts was around Izuku's entire body, thus revealing Grin's true form. He is a huge, muscular symbiote, with a huge smile on his face that very well showed his many sharp and pointed teeth, and a curious detail of him is that on his head, it looked like he had messy hair very similar to Izuku's hair, but the main difference was that it was made by the symbiotic mass of Grin's body, who was looking around the city while thinking about doing something crazy, and Izuku noticed it. "Grin, what do you think I'm thinking?" he said while taking steps back, and that made Izuku despair. "Izuku, oh no. No, for God's sake, don't do that. If we get caught for using our quirks, we'll commit a crime for using our powers in the city without a license," he said, worried while he was inside Grin's body, who didn't listen to what Izuku said. "Grin, oh, it won't be a crime if we just use it to get somewhere." "Izuku, okay, look, don't do that, and I promise you that we will." Izuku tried to blackmail the symbiote with something, but Grin was so excited and determined, he didn't listen. "Grin, too late," was the only thing he said before jumping between the buildings. "Izuku, no. Put the music at this time here. 3:08. I'm alive, and it feels like I'm on fire, but it's right on time. I'm alive, but it feels like I'm on fire, and it's right on time." In midair, while the symbiote was jumping between buildings, We can guess that the duo had different reactions to the situation they were in. Grin, haha, while one was having fun while he jumped into each building with his true form. Izuku, Grin, we're gonna get caught for this. Now let's stop and come do-ah. Izuku remained worried and tried to warn the symbiote to get down and go, but he screamed when he saw the two in the air when Grin did a super jump. As Grin jumped high and passed between the buildings, some people who were on the sidewalks or in the vehicles were watching the symbiote monster stay and walk right by them, which made many confused and not understanding anything. As for some heroes who were patrolling the city, they were so distracted by something, whether it was signing autographs for some fans, fighting crime, or eating something somewhere, that they didn't even notice the duo jumping between them, and when they would, the pair had already passed. As for Izuku and Grin, they were in the air as they continued on their way, and still in midair, the symbiote intensified its smile and said, Grin, watch out, Mizudafu. Here come the duo Izuku and Grin to cause terror, he said while sticking his long tongue out. Izuku, why are you saying that like it's a threat? He asked worriedly. End of song. You must be wondering, what happened? What's happening? Who is this Grin? How'd they meet? Well, to answer these questions, come with me to travel a little in time, where we will have our answers. 12 months ago, going back in time, it's a quiet night in Japan. Well, it was supposed to be a quiet night inside a company, which was sounding a loud alarm with many guards running in one direction armed. While all these men were running somewhere in this building, a scientist was running in the opposite direction of them, running desperately as he passed those guards, and upon reaching a room where a man in a suit was, the scientist, still panting and desperate, said, Sir, the experiment 1710 is on the run. When the scientist said that, the man who seems to be the head of the place looked at him with a serious look and said, Unone character, how is he running away? He asked in a serious tone as he stared at the scientist. Insert soundtrack. Eyes, lungs, pancreas, Ludwig Göransson. He took the body of one of our guards and is using him as a host to escape, he said worriedly while the man in the suit kept his hands on the table, mad and serious. But I believe that man's body is not a suitable host for experiment 1710. So that means that at some point or another that body will give way, but consequently that guard will die. Unone character. As much as it pains me to say this, I believe our guinea pig 1710 will be able to escape. I want you and the others to continue with the other test subjects and experiments, he said as he sat down in the chair in front of his desk. As they talk, we see guards pointing some weapons like machine guns or shotguns towards a door, waiting for someone, until suddenly a shattered body with its head ripped off is thrown violently through the door and consequently hitting some of the guards, who, seeing that shattered body, were obviously scared. As they looked towards the door, they were wide-eyed as they saw the silhouette of the symbiote known as Guinea Pig 1710, which was looking at them with a macabre smile just before releasing one. Grin raw. He let out a kind of grunt/scream/roar that made everyone open fire on him. But sir, as for 1710, what about it? Don't you think it's risky to let that thing loose around? Said the scientist, worried. Unone character. I'll send my men to look for him. He may run away now, but sooner or later we'll find him, and even if he find a host, we'll get him back. Returning to where the symbiote that we will later know as Grin, he was passing the guards while pushing, jumping, and using their body to hit one of those men. No matter how many shots he was getting, Grin wouldn't stop running or jumping, and it didn't take him long to jump high and consequently break a glass window and find himself free in the fresh air. Grin freedom, he shouted as he jumped between the buildings that dark, happy night. But before he could celebrate, Grin starts to feel weak as he falls to the ground in a dark alley, which startles some cats that were nearby. Feeling weak and seeing that he is no longer able to run in that form, Grin dropped to his knees while he was panting. Grin, this body is worth nothing, he said, tired and weak a little before putting his hands on his belly. I'm hungry. I need a host, and I need something more to eat. It was the only thing he said before his symbiotic mass enters the guard's body, which appears to be lifeless as we see the Grin mass literally come out from the corpse's mouth. Crawling on the ground, Grin and his mass form entered a storm drain that led to the city's sewers as he thought of one thing. Grin, I need a host. The next day. The next day, on a sunny morning, we see a man riding a motorcycle at high speed. He had a camera around his neck, a black jacket and gray jeans, and apparently this man was riding to some specific place, and he was in a hurry. Unone character. I still don't get it, Eddie. Why do we have to go take a picture and record a bunch of idiots in costumes who keep hitting each other in the middle of the street? Said a monstrous voice that was talking to the man riding the bike named Eddie. Eddie, they're heroes, Venom. Here in Japan, they're very popular, and a lot of people like to see them take action against any criminal who commits vandalism. He was saying a little before stopping when he saw a giant villain standing on a train track, dealing with professional heroes like Kimui Woods. Venom. These criminals we'd easily take care of by eating their heads like we always do at night. These people should love us taking care of them. The symbiote known as Venom said this as he pointed to the population that was watching that fight nearby, with all of them cheering and cheering for the heroes as Eddie took his helmet off his motorcycle and got out of the vehicle. Eddie Brock is a man who appears to be about 35 years old, with a short beard and side-cut hair. And when getting off the bike, Eddie took his camera and approached the population that was watching that fight. Eddie, yeah, but you forgot one thing. You eat people, but I don't. And I need my livelihood, and that's the best job I could do around here. How do you think I get money to buy my food or buy your chocolates? He said as he started to take a picture of the fight, while Eddie was on the side of someone well known to us, who watched that fight with a smile on his face. Venom, okay, you made me lose the argument, but don't even ask me to take pictures for you. Eddie, and a parasite like you would be able to take a picture? He asked while letting out a small laugh while mocking Venom, who didn't like it at all. Venom, parasite is your rear, Eddie. Izuku, oh my god, it's Kamui Woods. Izuku, Midoriya, who was on the side of Eddie, and Venom, who looked at the boy, said in an excited way. He's a new hero that's on ascension. Venom, what happened to this boy? Venom's question made Eddie shrug. Eddie, I told you, Venom. Heroes are popular. Focusing a little bit on the fight, we see that Kimui Woods was running between the train tracks and jumping high to just grab the fist of the huge villain, who, noticing this, turned his arm to try to get rid of the hero, who ended up landing on top of him. An overpass. Kimui Woods. Theft, robbery, and illegal use of powers during rush hour traffic. You are the very incarnation of evil, he said while stretching his fist to just activate his power. Izuku, he's going to do a special move. Eddie, special move? I don't want to miss this one, he said while pointing the camera in the direction where the fight was happening. When Kimui was about to attack the villain, who was going to prepare for this attack, another voice came out. Unone character, Canyon, said a huge woman who appeared next to the giant villain who turned around. She took a hard kick to the face, which not only knocked him to the ground, but easily defeated him as the giant woman landed on the ground in front of the defeated villain. Everyone who saw that was in shock, including Eddie, who pulled the camera away from his face, and Venom, who simply said, Venom, what was that? When that giant woman we know as MT Lady appeared, a group of photographers appeared next to Izuku and Eddie, who found this strange and sudden, but soon other photographers appeared who did not stop taking pictures of the woman. MT, Lady, my debut as a hero was a great one. Hello everyone, my name is Mount Lady. It's a really pleasure to be here, she said while blinking and clearly highlighting her rear, trying to charm whoever was seeing her. And it worked because of that more photographers emerged. As for Eddie, he was sweating at the sight of it, clearly finding it strange. Izuku didn't even care about that, even more so when he took his notebook and started writing. As for Venom, he simply said, Venom, is that how they get popular? Eddie, once the villain was defeated and the police came to arrest him, we see that the newcomer Mount Lady took credit for having defeated that villain as she waved to photographers or fans, which left other heroes like Kimui Woods upset. As for the human duo we know, Eddie was checking out the photos he took just before he heard Izuku jotting things down in his notebook, which scared him and Venom a little. Izuku, giantification, huh? Well, she can certainly become popular, either because of her looks or her attitude, not to mention that her power is incredible. but it will be difficult for her to move around the city a lot without damaging a lot of things. That's it. I mean, she can be useful, but at the same time, it can mess things up if she doesn't control her power. He said while writing everything in his notebook. Venom. Did he draw all these conclusions just by watching that woman once? Venom said, shocked, and he wasn't the only one. Eddie, that was a pretty quick conclusion, but it could make a lot of sense, boy. He said while scratching his head and letting out a crooked smile. Izuku, huh? I'm sorry. I tend to mumble too much and jot things down because, well, I'm kind of fanboy when it comes to powers or heroes. He said, embarrassed as he put his notebook away. Eddie, no, it's okay. Actually, that's a good thing. Not everyone has a photographic memory like yours and already knows exactly what they saw with just one look. Venom, as scary as that is. Izuku didn't hear that, obviously, but Eddie did and kind of mentally agreed with Venom. Izuku, thank you. It's just that I really want to use it to be a hero, but it's very complicated. He said, crestfallen. Eddie, yeah, I imagine. But look, everything is complicated, but it's also possible. Everything is possible in this life. And if you want to be a hero, young man, then try hard and one day you'll get there. You will see that all your effort and determination paid off. You will get there, he said with a smile and gave a light punch on the shoulder of Izuku, who smiled a lot with those words. Izuku, yes, I will. Thank you very much, sir. Eddie, Brock, my name is Eddie Brock. I'm a freelance reporter, he said as he extended his hand to Izuku, who greeted the man. Insert soundtrack, Eddie's Blues, Ludwig Göransson. Izuku, it's a pleasure to meet you, Mr. Brock. My name is Izuku Midoriya, he said a little before seeing Mount Lady still getting compliments, photos, and attention from people. Aren't you going to take more pictures, Mr. Brock? Eddie, no, I've taken enough pictures. Now I'm going to walk around the town, have a coffee, work harder to earn my living, and call a night, he said while walking to his bike, but without looking at Izuku and saying, who knows, maybe we'll meet more often there, future hero Midoriya, he said while smiling and pointing to Izuku, who smiled back. Izuku, I expect the same, Mr. Brock. Have a great job. As they said goodbye, Eddie put the helmet on his head, started the bike, and sped through the city, while Izuku still watched Eddie from a distance. Still focusing on Eddie, he was speeding leisurely through the city streets with a serious look in his eyes when Venom decided to speak. Venom, so what are we going to do now? Eddie, let's get something to eat now. After that, we'll keep working, and tonight, we'll take care of some criminals, he said as he stopped the bike when he saw the traffic light turn red. Venom, he. Now you speak my language, he said in a happy and excited tone. Eddie, but remember what I said, we're not going to kill the heroes we find in the night, let alone innocent people. Venom agreed. And by the way, that boy Izuku. Whatever. Did you mean that seriously? Because when you touch him, I didn't feel any power inside him. Eddie, yeah, I mean it. But even if he tries hard to be a hero, I doubt we'll ever see him again. I don't like being that pessimistic with other people. It was the only thing he said before accelerating the bike when he saw the light turn green. But what they didn't know was that this wasn't the last time they would see Izuku Midoriya. Fate had some plans for them in future events. Aldera School. Back to the day where we left off, we are at the well-known Aldera School. Currently, our boy Izuku Midoriya is already in his last year of junior high school to move on to high school. But he doesn't want to get into any high school. No. He wants to get into the so famous and well-known Academy of Udade, which is one of the best hero schools in Japan, if not the best. Right now, the green-haired boy was sitting at his desk, jotting down some information about quirks in a very peculiar notebook called Hero Analysis for the Future number 13, which was a guide to be able to analyze the heroes and their powers after watching them in action. The notebook that Eddie and Venom saw earlier that day, but didn't care. Izuku made this notebook to learn more about quirks, their strengths and weaknesses, and also helped him come up with possible counterattacks, hero costume changes, strategies, special moves, etc. The entire room was completely quiet and calm until the teacher arrived to warn everyone about something. Teacher, well, now that you're all in your third year, it's time to think about what you want in your future, he said while looking at some papers on his desk. And their words made all the students look at him. Teacher, I would pass a sheet of paper to each of you about what you thought of your future plans. But who do I want to kid, right? He said as he picked up the leaves and threw them in the air. I know you all want to be heroes. Upon saying that, all but 3 people shouted in agreement as they activated their own powers. Among the 3 people who didn't scream, one of them was Izuku, who just shyly raised his hand. Teacher, all right, I know you all have amazing quirks, but remember that using powers in school is against the rules, he said while trying to dampen the students' enthusiasm. Bakugu, hey teacher, don't put me in the middle of it all. Upon hearing this, everyone looked at the table where the well-known Katsuki Bakugu was, who was relaxed in his seat with his feet on the table. After all, I'm not on the same level as these bunch of losers, he said in an arrogant tone, and his words irritated most of the students who said, Don't be in butthole, Bakugu. What's your problem, idiot? Don't be so arrogant. Bakugu, oh, shut up you extras. Am I wrong? He said while smiling arrogantly. Teacher, oh, if I'm not mistaken, you want to go U.A Academy, right, Bakugu? Hearing this, everyone was surprised and shocked, while Izuku got a little nervous. Bakugu, exactly. That's why I say all of you are just extras, he said as he climbed onto the table. I completed the mock test. I'm the only one in this school with the highest chance of getting into U.A. I'll surpass even All Might and become the best hero of all time, he said with an arrogant smile. Teacher, I'm also seeing that. And Midoriya, are you also going to U.A? He asked, surprised by what he had just read. Upon hearing this, everyone became quiet, including Bakugu, who was very quiet after what he heard. As for Izuku, he kept his head down as he tried to look anywhere but at the students, who looked at Izuku and, ha ha. Yeah, everyone started laughing, all but 2 people. Midoriya, going to U.A? What a joke. You can't be a hero just by studying. Izuku, don't you guys know? They're done with that rule already, he said as he stood up. So I still. Suddenly, before he could finish speaking, a small explosion erupted from his desk on account of Bakugu, who was very upset. Bakugu, listen here, Deku. You're worse than all the extras because you don't have a quirk, you quirkless. How dare you stand in the same place as me? He said angrily while Izuku was on the floor. Izuku, wait a minute, Bakugu. It's not like I want to compete with you. Trust me. Izuku tried to explain this as he slowly walked away from his childhood friend. Izuku, it's just that being a hero has always been my dream since I was a kid, and you know that. And, well, I won't know if I'll make it if I at least try. Bakugu, what the hell are you saying? You can't do anything. You're just a pathetic useless, he said angrily while exhaling smoke through his hands. Unone character. Do you want to leave him alone? Everyone turned, including Izuku and Bakugu, to see a brown-haired, rosy-cheeked girl we know as Ochako Uraraka. It's always the same thing. Why do you always bother when it comes to him wanting to be a hero? Bakugu, don't meddle where you're not called. Round face. This is between me and this Deku. Teacher, and between me too, Bakugu. Bakugu looked back and saw that the professor was behind him with his arms crossed. Shall I remind you again that quirks are not allowed here? Now, sit in your chair, or you and I are going to have a serious talk. Bakugu, upon hearing this, was upset, but decided to obey the professor. But before he took one more look at Izuku before sitting down. As for Izuku, he remained seated on the floor for a while before he felt someone get close to him. Ochako, hey Izuku, are you okay? She asked, worried, thinking that he was hurt or felt hurt. Izuku. As for the boy, he remained quiet while sighing. Although Izuku had grown used to the abuse and insults of his classmates with the exception of Ochako, since he was just 4 years old, his childhood friend, Katsuki Bakugo, or better known as Kakin, always managed to depress him, discouraging him with her hurtful words, even with his true friend Ochako Uraraka being on his side, saying otherwise. Mizuta City. Later that same day, at a diner we see that Eddie Brock and Venom were inside, with Eddie looking at the pictures he took on his camera while the table had hot coffee. As for Venom, he was eating a chocolate that Eddie had to buy at a store, and to eat Venom he had to come out with his head coming right out of Eddie's shoulder. Luckily some people around were focused on other things instead of them, who were sitting in the chairs at the back of the cafeteria. Venom, aren't you going to have your coffee? Eddie, I'm just looking at the pictures to see which one might be good enough to sell. I can't just take any picture and that's it. Venom, humans and their demands. Good thing I'm not you. He said a little before looking at one of the pictures Eddie took earlier that day. The particular picture was of a man's body that was found lifeless in an alley, and you could see in the photo that the police were around the place. What intrigued them was that this man's body had no wounds, bruises, nothing. His body was simply lifeless. Venom, what do you think happened to that guy over there? Eddie, I wonder the same thing, he said as he took the coffee a little before blowing to cool it. Venom, I'm thinking a criminal did this. Eddie, I highly doubt it. As strange as I find a lifeless man's body appearing out of nowhere in an alley, his body didn't show any signs that he was attacked in any way. I think he died of some disease, like a heart attack, for example, he said before taking a sip of his coffee. Venom, I highly doubt that, Eddie, because if he died because of it, then why was the body right there in that alley? Eddie, yeah, I want to know that too. Venom, I'm still thinking it was a criminal who did this. And if it is, are we going to go after him and kill him in the name of justice? He asked excitedly. Before they could continue talking, they saw in the cafeteria window a villain with a body made entirely of slime, running away from any hero who appeared there while a man shouted, "Thief! Somebody catch him!" Venom, wonderful. I was getting bored. Shall we get him, Eddie? He asked excitedly. Eddie, no, we can't because. Unone character. It's all right now because I'm here. Or hear the scream of this well-known voice. Eddie, Venom, and some civilians outside turned around and saw just the well-known hero #1 of Japan, All Might, who was chasing the villain, who got desperate as he kept running. Eddie, yeah, that's what I was talking about. When they were out of sight, Eddie remained seated, drinking his coffee while Venom was crestfallen, very upset. Venom, oh no, I wanted to have some fun, he said softly, but it was clear that he was very upset. Eddie, I already said that at night you can go out, but remember our condition. Venom, okay, I know. No need to repeat. Eddie remained looking through the picture of that guard who was found dead in that alley. Eddie was very curious to know what was the cause of that man's death. If someone killed him, why did they do it? Better yet, who did that thing? Aldera School. After that humiliation suffered by the green-haired man in the classroom, classes continued as normal until the bell rang, signaling the end of classes. Before leaving the classroom, Izuku was reading news related to an incident involving villains on his cell phone. Ochako, that incident was earlier today, wasn't it? She asked this while watching the news on Izuku's cell phone. Izuku, yes, I was there watching the incident where the new heroine Mount Lady made her debut. When I get home, I'll write everything down in my notebook, he said while putting his cell phone in his pocket. Ochako, hee. Yeah, I figured it out, she said while scratching her head. She was not at all surprised that Izuku would do something like that. Izuku, by the way, are you coming with me today, Ochako? Ochako, I'd love to, but I'm leaving early to buy some mochi for my house, she said as she walked to the door, but she turned to Izuku and said, but we'll see you again soon. Izuku, bye and take care. She nodded with a smile on her face before leaving. Izuku, Ochako, and her machis, he said with a chuckle. After seeing his friend leave, the boy started to pack his things so he could leave school and go home. But just as he was about to put his notebook in his backpack, Bakugo suddenly snatched it from his hands. Bakugo, we're not done talking yet, Deku, he said a little annoyed while shaking Izuku's notebook. At that, Bakugo's friends approached to see what was happening. Katsuki, what is this? One of the minions asked before Bakugo showed him what that notebook meant. Huh? Hero analysis for the future? What's this, Midori? Ha. Are you serious, Midoriya? Izuku. Okay, it's hilarious, but are you done laughing? I need that notebook. Ignoring the boy, Bakugo simply blew up Izuku's notebook and threw it at the window, while Izuku watched in shock. Izuku, why? Why did you do that? Bakugo, I was just going to make it very clear to you. All elite heroes have stories about their school days. If I want to succeed, I have to be the only student in this school who goes to U.A. After all, I'm a perfectionist, he said in an arrogant tone. It's more like egocentric. thought one of Bakugu's lackeys. Bakugu. So, be warned for you, he said while putting his hand on Izuku's shoulder, who was serious but saw the smoke coming out of Bakugu's hand from him, who was smiling in a fake friendly way. Don't think about getting into U.A, and you'd better not even try. It was the only thing he said before Bakugu and his minions walked to the classroom door, while Izuku stood there in a serious way. Poor thing, isn't he going to say anything? He asked in a mocking tone. How pathetic. He can't face reality. Bakugu, listen, Deku. Since you want to be a hero like that so badly, then I know a way pretty quick. You just have to believe that you'll be born with a quirk in the next life. As soon as you jump off a building, he said while smiling. Insert soundtrack. Sandman Confess Spider-Man 3 soundtrack. Izuku, upon hearing this, turned around with an enraged look, and Bakugu noticed it. Bakugu, is there a problem? He asked as he released explosions in his hands. Izuku just stood there, breathing through his nose while he was keeping calm, but it was clear by the look that the boy didn't like that at all. Teacher, Bakugu. Everyone turned just to see the teacher from before appear with a book in hand. May I know what's going on here? Bakugu and his minions didn't say anything. They just turned and walked away as if nothing had happened, and not even caring about that man's presence. As for the greenish one, he appeared to be calm, but was downcast while his fists were clenched. Teacher, are you okay, Midoriya? He asked worriedly. Izuku, he didn't attack me, so I'm fine, he said seriously as he took his backpack and was about to leave when. Teacher, Midoriya. Have you ever thought about having another profession in your future, young man? He asked, trying to get the right words out. Izuku, what do you mean? Teacher, look, you know me. You know I like you. After all, you're an excellent student. To be honest, I'd rather have students like you than someone like Bakugu, but so don't you think that this profession of a hero is too dangerous for you? Izuku didn't say anything. He just remained standing with his back to the teacher, who was trying not to hurt the boy. Teacher, listen, I understand why you want to be a hero, and it's very noble of you, but without powers, it's a lot more complicated, young man. Izuku, so you mean that no matter how hard I try, it won't be worth a try? So you mean I have to throw away my life goal? Teacher, Izuku, it's okay. I understand what you mean to me, he said while looking at the teacher with a calm look and a weak and sincere smile. But I have to try. It's the only way to see if I can. It was the only thing he said before leaving, while the man sighed worriedly as he saw his student walk away. Outside the school building, Izuku was looking for his notebook while walking slightly annoyed. Izuku, you're in stupid Katsuki. You can't go around telling people to kill themselves. What if I actually jumped? You should think before you speak. He thought a little before seeing his destroyed notebook in the water that had fish who were eating the notebook thinking it was food. That's not food, you idiots, he thought as he took the notebook from the water, thus making the fish move away. Izuku stared through his damaged notebook, while the boy's expression held a contained anger, which seemed to be being controlled. But he simply took a deep breath and decided to leave the scene. On the way back home, Izuku saw a lot of people walking in the streets, which was normal. Except that whenever a family passed by, Izuku glanced quickly at them. Seeing them smiling, healthy in that sight made Izuku smile slightly before walking away again. But whenever he walked back, Izuku's smile quickly faded. Izuku, it doesn't matter what they say or what they think of me. Remember what you promised, Izuku. Be strong and carry on, he thought, determined and with a smile on his face as he walked under a bridge. And we know what's going to happen there, but let's focus on something else now. From below where the sewers were, we see a mass of our new symbiote, Grin, crawling around somewhere. Grin, I won't find anyone down here. I better go up and find Host, he thought as he looked at a ladder that led up where there was a manhole cover in the way. I don't think it will be difficult to go through this there. Before Grin could do anything, he felt someone move very fast and hard towards him, and before he could see who it was, Grin felt trampled as he was carried upstairs with him. Grin, F my head. He felt the floor of the person who stepped on him, and who did it was All Might, who when climbing up, he saw Izuku feeling suffocated by that villain made of slime. All Might, it's okay, young citizen. Because I'm here, he said while facing the villain, who felt intimidated and afraid. Grin, and I'm here too, and you stepped on my head. The villain tried to attack the hero, who simply ducked and avoided the attack, and then ran towards the villain, who would try to attack him again, but it was too late. All Might was faster. All Might, Texas, smash! With a single punch that was delivered in the air, the wind pressure the punch caused the slime villain to crumble and explode, thus freeing Izuku, who fell to the ground as he coughed heavily from nearly choking and suffocating to death. All Might, young man, are you okay? He asked, slightly worried as he ran towards him. And when he got close to the boy, Grin finally got off the man's foot, stopping behind him. Grin, finally. I thought he would never stop. As he caught his breath, Izuku looked at his savior and was surprised to see the well-known. Izuku, All Might. All Might, phew. Glad you're okay, young man. He said, relieved. I'm sorry for what happened. I didn't want to involve you in my fight against this villain. He said in a cheerful tone as he started to walk to pick up the remains parts of the villain he defeated, to just put him in a bottle that was with the number 1 hero, while Izuku remained looking at the man. All Might, I don't usually make these kind of mistakes, you know, but I was so excited to be on my day off in a new place like this. Ha ha, can you understand me, young man? He said as he put the remains of the slime villain into the bottle, and Grin saw it and knew what could happen. Grin, wait. Oh no. No way, I won't get stuck in a bottle. He thought as he dragged himself to Izuku, who didn't notice the presence of Grin, who approached the foot of the green-haired boy. I just hope you don't die, young man. All Might, anyway, thanks to you, young man, I managed to capture the miscreant, he said while showing Izuku the villain trapped in the bottle, which was now capped. Izuku, I can't believe that I'm seeing All Might in the flesh in front of me, he said excitedly, showing his fanboy side to All Might, who was smiling. All Might, anyway, I better go. Izuku, wait a minute, he said while showing the hero a notebook with a pen. Could you give me an autograph, All Might? All Might. Sure, why not? He said while signing in a full page his hero name in Izuku's notebook, that he was amazed at what he was seeing. Izuku, he really signed it. He really signed it. Ochako won't believe it. I'll treasure this so much that it will become a family heirloom. Thank you so much, All Might. I really appreciate it, he said while bowing quickly several times in thanks to All Might, who kept the bottle in his pants pocket. Grin, all this just for this? Grin thought in disbelief, and because he was just thinking Izuku couldn't hear him. All Might, I'm glad you're happy about it. Anyway, I'm taking this guy to the police. I'll see you on the other side of the screen, young man, he said as he was about to jump very far, and Izuku noticed it. Izuku, hold on, sir. I have some questions for you. All Might, keep rooting for me, he shouted in a joyful tone as he jumped far away, thus stopping in midair. But in the air, he felt as if someone were grabbing him by the legs and looking down. Young man, what are you doing? He asked, scared and shocked to see Izuku clinging to the man's legs, while Izuku himself showed a little regret, but not so much. Grin, that's great, I caught a suicidal host. He thought, shocked and even scared. All Might, come on, let go of me. I love my fans, but it's going too far. Izuku, but if I let go, I'll die. All Might, oh, it's true, he said when remembering where they are. Literally sky high. Okay, I'll look for a place to land. Just keep your eyes and mouth closed. Hearing that, Izuku did as All Might said, and the said man looked around for a bit before coughing and feeling a drop of vital fluid come out of his mouth. All Might, oh no. Shortly thereafter, All Might found a safe place to land, which was high up on a building, and so he did. All Might, are you okay? Izuku, I felt my life flash before my eyes, he said while catching the breath he lost. All Might, listen, young man. If you ask the building staff, they'll let you go. Now I have to go. I'm really in a hurry, he said as he walked away. Izuku, wait a minute. All Might, sorry, but I can't wait. Izuku, I only have one question to ask. After saying that, All Might stopped walking for a bit before turning slightly to Izuku, hinting that he was listening. Izuku, I just wanted to ask, do you think a person without quirk can become a hero? Can a quirkless become a hero? Like you? All Might. A quirkless? He asked, surprised at what he heard, a bit of feeling his cough intensify, along with an ache that was coming up in his stomach, and he knew what it was. No, not now. Damn, not here. Izuku, All Might, are you okay? Izuku noticed the hero's behavior and was worried, even more so when he saw steam coming out of him, literally. All Might, relax. I'm, was the only thing he managed to say before the steam intensified around the hero. Seeing this, Izuku approached, but before he could get any closer, the smoke made by the steam dissipated and Izuku and Grin were shocked to see. Well, the skinny version of All Might. Izuku, but what the... Grin, God is more. What the hell happened? Grin was in disbelief and shocked to see that strong and muscular man turned into a guy who seems to have used a lot of toxins. Izuku, but what is that? Tashinori, calm down, young man. Listen to me. Tashinori wanted to explain himself, but... Izuku, where is he? What did you do to All Might, you fake? Tashinori, look, I know I'm not very handsome like this, but you don't have to throw it in my face like that. Also, don't get wrong, I'm actually All Might. Before he could finish speaking, blood came out of his mouth, which in Izuku's view was unpleasant to look at. As for the Grin, after this vision, I'll never think about trying to eat this guy again. Izuku, are you really All Might? Tashinori, yeah. You know those guys at the pool who suck his guts out just to puff out their chest to look muscular? I'm like that. Izuku, it can't be. He was comically shocked. But All Might is a big guy who saves many people. He eliminates all obstacles and wins the day with a fearless smile on his face. Tashinori, sigh, fearless smile? He said as he sat on the floor. It seems I owe you some explanations. But if I do that, promise that you won't tell anyone or publish this on social media. Izuku, well, if that's what you want, then fine. Insert soundtrack, the trade nausea. Hearing that, Tashinori lifted his shirt just to show Izuku and Grin, without him knowing. And what it showed was a horrible injury to the man's stomach. Tashinori, this is a scar from an attack I suffered 5 years ago. I lost my lung and my stomach, and all the surgeries basically wore me out and it can't be fixed. He said a little before lowering his shirt and looking at Izuku, who was in shock. Tashinori, because of that, I can only do my job as a hero for only 3 hours a day. Izuku, just for 3 hours. 5 years ago. Was that your fight against Toxic Chainsaw? Tashinori, wow, you seem to know the things. But no, that monster might have landed me a few blows, but he couldn't take me down. The fight I'm talking about, well, it was a fight that didn't go public. I did everything to keep it a secret, including asking the media not to disclose it. He said with a serious face, until he looked at Izuku and said, Tashinori, I'm supposed to be the guy who's always smiling, right? I'm a symbol of peace. People everywhere have to think that I'm never afraid. But honestly, he said while looking to your own hand, I smiled to hide the fear inside me. Izuku gaped. Tashinori, understand, young man. Professional heroes always risk their lives, and one has to be very brave when the pressure is high. A job like this is not easy at all, and I can't just say you could be a hero without having a single power. Hearing that, Izuku was in shock. He felt his hand shake as he looked down. Izuku, I see, he said as Tashinori got up from the ground. Tashinori, I'm really sorry, young man, but I have to be honest. But if you still want to help people, there are many other ways to do that. You can become a policeman. They are not highly valued because villains are given to them, but it's a good profession, he said while stopping at a door that was in the building. But before leaving, he says one more thing. Look, it's not bad to have a dream, young man. Just make sure your dreams are achievable, realistic. You know? Izuku, yes, I understand. Hearing that, Tashinori went through the door and closed it, leaving Izuku, who was serious and looking at nothing, alone in the place. Izuku, yeah, that was to be expected, he said with a forced smile as he kept his cool, but it was pretty clear that he was shaken by what he heard, even though he'd already suspected that was the truth all along. Grin, how harsh. I honestly can't understand humans, but that was harsh, he thought while feeling a little sorry for the boy, who was laughing to try to soften reality, but it wasn't doing much good. It was obvious that this laugh was fake. As for Tashinori, he was walking down the stairs when he put his hand in his pocket, but as he did so, he finally noticed that the villain was no longer there. Tashinori, huh? Wait a minute, where is he? Suddenly, an explosion could be heard in the distance. Tashinori looked at a window and saw a large cloud of smoke rising in the air, and he already suspected what was happening. Tashinori, that's not good, was the only thing he said before running. And when leaving the building, Tashinori, in his thin form, decided to run towards the incident. I have to go quickly. Izuku also heard that explosion, and, of course, he could also see that smoke in the distance, and that made Izuku wide-eyed. But before Izuku could run up the stairs, he remembered Tashinori's words, and it made him feel down as he sighed. Izuku, who did I want to fool? The answer was obvious all this time, he said while walking at a normal pace. You already knew that, Izuku. At a convenience store, we see that Eddie was leaving with a bag that had chips and other chocolates inside. And before he could go to his bike, he and Venom heard that explosion and looked in the direction where that bang came from. Eddie saw the smoke. Venom, another villain attack? Eddie, there's only one way to find out, was the only thing he said before getting on the bike, putting the helmet on his head, and speeding towards the incident. Focusing now on Izuku, he was walking down the street while looking at his notebook. The notebook was open to a page that had Kamui Woods on it, and by the look of the boy, he was still sad. Grin, I could talk to him now, but it's better to leave that for later. The way he is now, he might have a fit if I appeared to him, and I don't feel like looking for another host again. Izuku, I'm sorry, Mom. I'm sorry, Ochako. I'm sorry, Dad. I really wanted to, but if even All Might said that, what's the point of trying to be a hero without any powers? He asked as a tear fell on his face, but he quickly wiped it away. I already knew that. Deep down, I already knew that. All along. Suddenly, that explosion from before rang out once more, and it made Izuku look across the street. Izuku, did I come here without realizing it? Is the fight still going on? Izuku approached the place, which had a lot of civilians in front, watching the attack. Izuku, why am I here? It won't do any good being here. Before he could think of anything else, he carefully saw who was making that attack, and that someone was that slime villain from before. Izuku, the villain who attacked me. What is he doing here? All Might has captured him. Izuku thought, shocked and scared, until he remembered what happened minutes ago. The bottle must have fallen. If it fallen, then that means it's my fault. He thought, feeling guilty while their eyes were wide. Why aren't the heroes doing anything? Asked one of the civilians who were watching the fight. They can't do anything. Looks like the villain took 2 young people hostage a while ago. Things aren't looking good for them. Hearing that, Izuku was in shock. Izuku, he took 2 hostages. How long have they been there? He thought as he remembered how villain tried to suffocate the boy, who almost thought he was going to die. How are they not putting up with him choking? Wait, I'm confused. Isn't this the villain All Might was chasing earlier today? Insert soundtrack. Abigail Walker, Kevin Canham. Midoriya's head turned to the people who were talking with a worried look on his face. What? All Might? No way, he missed that villain. Where is he? Well, can someone call him or something? Really? Why didn't he show up to help the heroes? What they didn't know was the blonde was there in his lean form as he gripped his own chest as he bent over in pain. Izuku had both hands over his mouth as he trembled slightly. Izuku, I'm to blame. He wasted his energy on me. Tashinori, I'm useless. Izuku, I'm sorry to whoever went for the villain. I'm really sorry. I just hope you two hold on until a hero saves you both. He thought as he looked at the villain. Someone will save you. Someone will. Before he could finish thinking, Izuku finally saw the faces of the 2 hostages. One was Deku, who tried to break free but couldn't, and I could see he was scared in their eyes. But the second hostage was Ochako Uraraka herself, who appeared to be desperate and very afraid, and that sight made Izuku's eyes widen. Seeing his friend there, the friend who always treated him well and always defended him. Izuku was left with gritted teeth as he thought of one thing while looking at the villain. Izuku, son of A. To the surprise and shock of everyone, including Grin and the heroes, Izuku ran towards the villain with all his strength and speed. Grin, what are you doing? You know what? Whatever, this is going to be fun. Death Arms, you idiot brat, get back here. Slime villain. Look who decided to show up. He said when he saw Izuku running towards him. Izuku, I don't understand why I ran and why I can't even stop. But what, screw that. Screw that. He thought as he took his backpack and was about to throw the villain right towards the eye. But what Izuku didn't notice was that a symbiote mass was around his arm just before the boy threw his backpack and said, swallow him. By throwing the backpack towards the villain's eye, it ended up hitting his eye in full, which consequently made him scream in pain and discomfort, and that blow gave Bakugo and Ochako a moment to breathe. Ochako, Izu, she screamed, worried to see Izuku there. Izuku, Ochako. With the symbiote mass on Izuku's arm, he managed to get the girl out with a simple pull, all thanks to the strength and claws of Grin's arm that was on Izuku's arm, who didn't notice that because of the situation, but Ochako noticed, and she was surprised. With only the Bakugo left, she approached him. Bakugo, why are you here? Izuku simply grabbed him by the shirt collar and said, Izuku/Grin, shut up and come. Grin's voice came out along with Izuku's voice, who didn't notice it because of the heat of the moment, but Bakugo noticed and was surprised. By pulling the Bakugo with ease out of the slime villain, Izuku saw that he managed to save both of them while he was in front of them as the symbiote mask that was on the boy's arm disappeared. Tashinori, who was watching the fight, was surprised at what the boy did, including Eddie, who was watching the fight and was surprised at what Izuku did. Eddie and Tashinori couldn't clearly see the symbiote mass appearing on Izuku's arm because of the flames and destruction that were around, but otherwise, they could see it. Slime villain, you brat, I'm going to kill you. He was going to attack Izuku, but he stopped talking when he saw something that made him scared. Put the soundtrack at this time here to 08. The villain simply saw that Izuku's eyes and mouth were replaced by the Grin's huge white eyes, and the Grin's mouth full of sharp teeth was in the place where Izuku's mouth should have been, in that sight. Villain got ice on his spine, even more so because Grin was grinning intensively. Ochako and Bakugo couldn't see as they were behind Izuku and with eyes focused on the villain. And as for Izuku, he just didn't notice this change in his face. In fact, Izuku was confused and curious to see the scared villain. Slime villain, stay away from me. Stay away from me, kid. The villain was going to attack Izuku, who was going to try to do something, but All Might appeared in front of Izuku and protected him with his strong arm. All Might, I'm so pathetic. Despite everything I told you, I didn't put everything I said into practice, he said as he freed himself from the villain's attack. Professionals are always risking their lives. This is the true test of heroes, he said while aiming his fist towards the villain while some blood appeared in the hero's mouth. All Might Detroit. Smash! With a punch that completely hit the villain, a strong wind was generated, and it was so strong that it ended up putting out all the fire around it. Izuku, Ochako, and Bakugo were holding on, while Izuku was holding on to the girl. Mount Lady had to use herself as a barrier to prevent civilians from voting away because of the wind tornado that was created by that punch. And a soundtrack. When everything calmed down, we see that All Might had steam coming out of his hand as he was panting, and suddenly, it started to rain. Everyone was confused by the sudden rain, but soon everyone understood that who ended up causing it was All Might, who ended up changing the weather because of that wind he caused. And that made everyone in shock. Venom, yeah, that Johnny Bravo over there is very strong, he said, surprised to see that while Eddie nodded. As for All Might, he raised his right fist up, which made many applaud him as he looked at Izuku, who was surprised and noticed how All Might looked at him. Minutes later, the heroes collected all of the villains' remains that were scattered around, and it didn't take long for him to be in police custody. All Might was receiving praise and photos from the media. As for Izuku, he was being scolded by the Kamui Woods and Death Arms. Kamui Woods, are you crazy by any chance, kid? Death Arms, there was no reason for you to be put yourself in danger. Ochako, he was going to save me. Ochako was on the side of Izuku, who was silent and crestfallen while the girl tried to defend the boy. While on the other side, Some heroes were praising Bakugo on account of the explosive blonde's bravery and quirk, but he wasn't listening to them. Death arms. But even so, he was reckless, and that has its limits. Eddie, excuse me. Izuku, Ochako, and the two heroes looked to the side and saw Eddie approaching. Sorry for interrupting the conversation, but if you want my opinion, the boy did a good job. Kamui Woods, but what he did was too risky. This is the work of a professional hero. He could have died for it. Eddie, and those two hostages would die too. Here's my camera, and some people who won't let me lie. Kamui Woods. Death arms. Eddie, tell me, what are you? Pro heroes, right? I agree. What he did was risky and reckless, but he did something you should have done a long time ago. Rescue the dying hostages. You made excuses that you didn't have the proper powers for the situation. The boy did something, which you should have done a long time ago, without much trouble. And you won't even thank him for the little help? How mean, huh? He said with a smile, while holding his camera in his hands. Feeling kind of bad about it, and seeing that Eddie was right, oddly enough. Kamui Woods and Death Arms looked at Izuku and said, Kamui Woods / Death Arms. Thanks for your little help, young man. It was the only thing they said before they walked away. Hearing that, Izuku was surprised as he looked at Eddie, who gave Izuku a thumbs up before walking away. As for Ochako, she was happy, not only that Izuku had saved her, but that he had received the thanks he deserved. On the way home, Izuku and Ochako were walking together while Izuku looked at his right hand. And the reason? Ochako spoke what she saw. Izuku, are you sure you saw that? Ochako, of course. Your entire fist hand was different. It had claws, your skin was different. I think you have a quirk, Aizu, she said in a happy tone. Izuku, how is that possible? Bakugo, Deku. Hearing that voice, Izuku and Ochako turned around and saw that Bakugo was running towards them just before stopping, half out of breath. Ochako, what do you want, Bakugo? She asked in a dry tone. Bakugo, listen up, Deku. If anyone asks, I didn't ask for your help. And you didn't help me. Understand, Deku. I was doing just fine on my own. You're just a powerless loser who won't get in my way. Know that I don't owe you anything. And don't you dare tell anyone about that. And that goes for you too? Round face. It was the only one he said before he turned around, pissed off and his ego bruised. And that scene made them both sigh. Izuku, it's tough. Ochako, he really needs an anger treatment, she said before turning to Izuku. Anyway, I'd better go home. My parents must be worried. But tomorrow, let's see what your quirk is like, Aizu, she said excitedly. Izuku, sure, we can see that. Ochako would walk away, but before leaving, she turned around, approached Izuku, and kissed him on the cheek, which left the boy blushing and surprised. Ochako, it's your reward for today. Bye, Aizu, she said cheerfully a little before running home, but you could see that she blushed too. Izuku, she kissed me? Oh man. Izuku, trying to get any wrong thoughts out of his head, continued on his way just before. All Might, I'm here, he shouted as he appeared in front of Izuku, who was startled. Izuku, oh my Jesus. All Might, ha. Wait a minute, what did you call me? He asked confused. Izuku, it's just that. I mean, it's just that you came out of nowhere in front of me when you were busy with reporters there. All Might, yes, ha. Getting rid of those reporters was easy. After all, he said while striking a pose to show his muscles, but I'm All Might. It was the only thing he managed to say before turning back to his skinny form and spitting. Grin, that was the strangest thing I've ever seen. I could comment on what happened in this part, but let's face it, most of you already know what's going to happen here. So, let's get to the part you most want to see. Emmanuel, can you show them the most important part? 40 minutes later, after talking to All Might, Izuku arrived at his house, still surprised, but happy. His day didn't start so well, but he was rewarded in the end. Izuku, Mom, Dad, I've already arrived, he said as he entered their house. Upon hearing Izuku's voice, Hisashi got up and walked towards the path. Hisashi, Izuku, are you okay, champion? He asked worriedly. Hisashi is a man with black hair, a short beard and freckles on his cheek. Izuku, relax, father. I'm fine, nothing bad happened. She saw it on TV too, didn't she? He asked as he took his shoes off his feet. Hisashi. Yes, she and I saw everything, but Inko is fine. I managed to calm her down, especially when she saw that you were safe. Izuku, I see. Inko, Izuku? The two men turned around and saw that Inko was walking towards them, especially since she saw the boy. Are you okay, dear? Hisashi. Honey, I told you not to try too hard. You know that, he said while standing next to Inko, who checked if Izuku was okay. Inko, you weren't hurt, right? Izuku, no, Mom. I'm fine, he said while lightly holding the woman's arms. Actually, I have good news to tell you too. Hisashi, really? What? Are you dating young Uraraka? He asked with a mischievous smile. Inko, am I going to have a daughter-in-law? She asked hopefully. Izuku, and no, that's not it, he said blushing. First, I just need to go to my room to store my things. Then I'll take it, and I'll tell you everything, he said while walking to his room, while Inko and Hisashi just watched. Inko, do you think he and the young Uraraka will take a long time to date? She asked with her hand on her chin. Hisashi, maybe so, maybe not. I just ask when will they move on to the next stage of their relationship? Inko, what stage? Hisashi, oh, drown the goose. Inko, stop being malicious, she said while lightly patting Hisashi's arm, who was chuckling. Inside Izuku's room, he took his backpack off his back, and before he could do anything else, Grin, lovely family you have. Insert, eyes, lungs, pancreas. Hearing this monstrous voice, Izuku was startled as he looked around, looking for who said that. Izuku, who said that? He asked scared. Grimmy, and I can show up for you, but first, I want you to try not to scream or freak out too much. Got it? Izuku took a deep breath as he nodded, and Grin noticed it. Then after a while, a symbiotic mask came out from Izuku's shoulder, and it formed the face of Grin, who was looking and smiling at Izuku, who was gaping. Grin, hello Izuku. Izuku, what? What the hell are you? Grin, my name is Grin, and you're now my host. Izuku, so you were the one who made me run to that villain? Grin, no, you ran to him yourself to save those two. I just gave a little help. Izuku, what do you want from me? Grin, listen to me, Izuku. I need your help. Izuku was confused. I ran away from suckers who were using me as a guinea pig, and I'm getting weak because I haven't eaten almost anything in a long time. And to feed myself, I'm going to need a host, and that's where you come in. Izuku, host, so you're just going to use me just to eat? He asked, surprised, shocked, and even scared. Is it like I'm human vehicle? Grin, interpret it however you like. I need to survive somehow, but the two of us can come to a deal, he said as he got closer to Izuku, who swallowed hard because of Grin's face. If you feed me, I will collaborate with you. I can make you stronger, more resilient. I can take care of your wounds. I can do what you want. Better yet, we can do whatever we want. Do we have a deal, Izuku Midoriya? He said while his smile only grew, that he was thinking about what he heard. Izuku, first, how do you know my name? Grin, I know a lot about you now. After all, I'm in your head too. You're someone fascinating, but you've been through a lot of complicated stuff. Izuku, so for you to survive, you just need to eat. Grin, that's right, and that's why I'm here. All you have to do is collaborate, and I'll collaborate with you. One can take care of the other, don't you think? What do you say, Izuku? It's take it or leave it. He said while his head was next to Izuku, who was very serious before looking at Grin. Izuku, what are you that you eat? Izuku, you eat what? He shouted softly as he was shocked and scared by what Grin had just said. Grin, I told you not to freak out. Izuku, are you kidding? I cannot eat human brains. Grin, you're not going to eat it. I'm going to eat it. I will just use your body to feed myself. Izuku, whatever. With you inside my body, my stomach can be yours too. Grin, technically yes, but understand one thing. As long as I'm using your body with my form, I'm feeding. As for you, if you're eating anything in your funny form, he said that because of Izuku's appearance and nature. Izuku, what? Grin, human form. Anyway, you will be feeding. Izuku, even so, I can't just go around killing people for brains. Grin, why not? As far as I know, there must be humans out there who deserve to die and be devoured, literally. Like the villains, isn't it? I can eat them. he said with a wide smile as he looked out the window while Izuku was sitting on the edge of his bed. Izuku, you don't understand. If I mean us to do that, sooner or later we'll get caught, and my life could end. Grin, and my life too if I don't eat. Before Izuku could say anything else, the two heard a knock on the bedroom door along with a voice. Hisashi, son, is everything okay in there? Your mother is almost done preparing dinner. Izuku, yes, I'll be right there, Dad. As soon as I take a shower, I'll go to the kitchen. Hisashi, all right, try not to take too long, was the only thing he said before walking away. Izuku, isn't there something else you can feed on? Grin, yeah, chocolate. Izuku, what? Really? Izuku was surprised. He expected anything, like meat for example. Now chocolate. Grin, yes, as far as I know, chocolate is made by a chemical known as phenethylamine. And that might be enough to feed me. Izuku, I'm still surprised you feed yourself with chocolate. Grin, it's either that, or I eat someone's brain. So what's it going to be? Do we have a deal or not? Izuku, well, I think I'll be able to feed you that, he said as he got up from the bed. Grin, wonderful. Izuku, but we have another problem. What do I tell my parents about you? Grin, you're smart, Izuku. You will know what to do. It was the only thing he said before entering the boy's shoulder, which he sighed before opening the door. City of Muzutafu. At night in the city of Muzutafu, we see that a woman was walking through a dark part, and she seemed to be in a hurry, until she saw some 3 men staring at her with malice and lust, obviously with bad intentions. Seeing this, she made the mistake of entering a dark alley, which she had no exit on the other side, and looking back, those men were there staring at her. Please leave me alone, she said, scared as she took a few steps back. Oh, why are you like this? Just want to have a little fun? What do you think? In the end, you will love it, said one of them while licking his lips. Understand what they wanted with her. The woman tried to pass them while running, but her attempt to escape failed when she felt herself being grabbed and kicked against the wall with one of those men getting behind her. Don't even think about screaming or trying to run away, because if you try, you're going to die right now, he said while he had a knife on the woman's neck, who was crying. Desperate. Please, I can give you money if you want, she said while looking at the men, begging with her eyes for them to let her go. And for what money if we have something much better in front of us? One of them said while taking the belt off his pants, to the dismay of the young woman. Calm down, cutie. It will hurt at first, but you will like in the end, he said while lifting the woman's skirt, who was begging for some hero to appear, but something came into place. Suddenly, right in the darkest part of the alley, they all heard someone landing or something heavy falling, which confused them at first while the woman got hopeful thinking it was some pro-hero. Out of nowhere, a black tentacle grabbed the leg of one of those men and violently pulled him towards the darkest part of the alley, which scared the rest. Hey, what is this? Who are you? Was the only thing they managed to hear from that man who was pulled before he started screaming in despair. The only thing they could hear after that scream was an unpleasant sound. It looked like something was breaking and like someone was tasting something. One of those men took his cell phone, activated the flashlight, and aimed at the dark part of the alley, and what they saw was a scene from a horror movie. They saw Venom feasting on the head of the man that was pulled, and the only thing left of that guy was the rest of the body lying on the ground. But what is this? One of them screamed, scared as he saw Venom finish eating, and hearing that scream, Venom turned around and used 2 tentacles to grab the 2 remaining men by the neck and pull them towards the symbiote. Venom, how wonderful. 3 early evening meals? This is what I needed, he said with a literally bloodthirsty smile because of the vital fluid dripping from his teeth to his chin, which in their view was horrible to look at. We will start with you. No, please. Was the only thing he managed to say before seeing Venom's mouth open in front of his face and eat his head with one bite, thus making a lot of vital fluid flow. Venom, how delicious, he said as he looked at the other man, who was literally in tears while having a huge dread in his eyes. Oh, look at this. What's it? Do you want to live? Why, yes. I beg you. I want to live. Venom, too bad I don't want to, was the only thing he said before doing the same thing he did before, eating the man's head, which was quite painful this time. Venom made a point of making that man's death the most painful. He sank his teeth into his neck, making the man in pain and despair, and then pulled his teeth and made the flesh of the man's neck open, thus making the symbiote feed itself before releasing the body of that guy who had his belt open. As he turned around, Venom saw that the young woman who was going to be raped was lying on the floor with wide eyes as she looked at Venom, who was standing still, staring at her. She was thinking he was going to devour her like he had those men, but to her surprise and relief, Venom lifted his index finger and placed it in front of his own face. Venom, chill. Don't tell the heroes anything about this or us. Just go away and let other people find this pile of trash, he said while he was going to jump and leave, but before Venom looked at the woman and said, "Have a nice life," was the only thing he said before jumping high and getting over the buildings and running away. As for the victim who was saved, she got up from the ground, looked at those corpses of the men who would abuse her, and felt nothing but relief and disgust. But one thing crossed her mind. Did he say we? She asked, curious but confused. Still on the roofs of Mizutefu, Venom was jumping from roof to roof, looking for more bad people to eat. Literally. The problem was that Venom was too excited, and this was causing some noises every time he landed on the roof. "Eddie, Venom, what part of silent and deadly don't you understand?" he asked while Venom was standing on the edge of one of the buildings, watching the streets. "Venom, why be silent and deadly when we can be diabolical and deadly?" "Eddie, that's not the problem. It's been difficult for us to be seen in San Francisco, now imagine here. I honestly don't feel like moving from city to city." Insert soundtrack, Self-Defense, Ludwig Göransson. Venom. So before Venom could finish speaking, he felt his leg being grabbed by something, and as he looked down, he saw it. Is that a scarf? Seeing that scarf on his leg, Venom felt his leg being pulled, making him fall to the ground due to the sudden pull. And looking at who did it. Unone character, don't even think about moving, said a man with yellow glasses, black clothes, and a scarf around his neck. "I saw what you did, and unfortunately I will have to arrest you." Venom, what is that? Is it a beggar? Eddie, no, this man is known as Eraserhead. Not much is known about this guy, but all he knows is that he works a lot at night. Shota, I don't know what quirk you have, but what you did was an act of cannibalism, and that's a crime. Venom, cannibalism? Eddie, he thinks you're a person, Venom. Let's get out of here soon. Venom, okay. Shota, stop pretending not to understand, and come with me now. Don't make it harder, he said in a very serious tone. Venom, I'm sorry, but prison is not the place for me. As he said that, Venom felt his arm being wrapped around Eraserhead's scarf. Shota, what I said wasn't a request, it was a warrant, he said as he ran towards Venom, who dodged Eraserhead's kick. Seeing this, Aizawa used his scarf to grab both of Venom's arms, which grabbed the two ends of Aizawa's weapon and pulled him towards the alien, but the hero was smart. Upon being pulled, Aizawa had a quick reaction and landed a kick on Venom's face, which left him a little stunned and irritated. Seeing this, Aizawa jumped in the air and was going to punch Venom in the face, but the hero had his face grabbed, thus causing his attack to be interrupted. Venom, and what I said wasn't a warning, it was a threat. As he said that, Venom lifted Aizawa into the air before slamming the man to the ground while still holding his monstrous hand over the hero's face. Venom, we're not going to kill you, so I'll just say one thing. Don't get in our way. Finally, Venom dragged Eraserhead against the roof of the building just before throwing the hero against the nearby door. In doing so, the door withstood the way Eraserhead was thrown. However, the door ended up being dented, both by Venom's strength and Eraserhead's physique, who was in pain but not defeated. But when he got up to face Venom, he saw that the alien had already fled. Looking at the door he was thrown through and having seen what he did by eating the heads of the three rapists, Aizawa started to get curious about Venom, even more so with what he heard before he was thrown against the door. Shota, what is that? Why didn't he kill me? He thought curiously and intrigued as he looked at the buildings. End of soundtrack. The next day, the sun was already rising. A new day was starting once more, and Izuku was sleeping peacefully in his bed when the alarm clock started to go off. Beep, 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 beep. Due to the noise of the alarm clock, it not only woke Izuku, but also made him feel uncomfortable due to the noise. But who was most uncomfortable and bothered by this was Grin, who used his tentacle to pick up the alarm clock and throw it against the floor. Grin, what an annoying noise, he said irritably while Izuku looked shocked at the alarm clock that Grin had just broken. Izuku, what did you do? Grin, a favor for us. Izuku, this was my alarm clock. I use it to wake up. Why did you do that? Grin, you seriously need an annoying noise to wake you up? Doesn't that ever make you angry? Izuku, you still haven't answered my question. Grin, well, we're going to be together for a long time. You better know some things about me. We symbiotes, at least most of us, have two types of weaknesses, he said while Izuku got up from the bed. The first thing is the fire, and the second thing is the noises. Noises bother us. Izuku, wait a minute. So, you mean one of your weaknesses is sound? He asked as he got to the bathroom and looked at himself in the mirror. Grin, no, not the sound. Loud noises, uncomfortable noises, those things that bother us the most and hurt us like fire. In my case, fire hurts me, noises just bother me, he said while Izuku started brushing his teeth. And with you being my host, you can also feel our weaknesses. After all, we are connected. Izuku, so does that mean we both have to be careful with fire and loud noises? He asked with a bit of toothpaste still in his mouth before going back to brushing. Grin, noises make symbiotes crazy and almost out of control, so don't worry too much about me as I'm used to that kind of thing. Izuku, say that to my alarm clock. Grin, annoying noises makes me Angie, so don't even try to argue. Izuku, okay. And before I forget, yesterday you said that you ran away from some people who were using you as a guinea pig, right? Grin, yes. Izuku, who were they and why were they using you? Grin, I don't know, I just know that I didn't want to stay in that place anymore, and I ran away as fast as I could without looking back. Izuku, do you think they might come looking for you? He asked in a serious and worried tone. Grin, it's possible, and I don't want to go back to being just a guinea pig. I don't know what they wanted with me. I just know that I couldn't take it anymore. Izuku, upon finishing his morning hygiene, Izuku left the bathroom and walked to the living room where Hisashi was making breakfast. Hisashi, good morning, son. Izuku, good morning, Dad. He greeted as he sat in the chair. Hisashi, good morning, Grin. Grin, Ohio, Mr. Midoriya, he said while making his face appear on Izuku's shoulder. As you can see, Hisashi was now aware of Grin's presence. Izuku had to lie to his parents about Grin and say he was a quirk with life. Of course, they just had to be careful that Grin didn't end up scaring Inko with his creepy face, but at the end of the conversation, Izuku's parents believed what they heard. Izuku, where's Mom? Is she okay? He asked a little worried when he saw that his mother wasn't there. Hisashi, yes, she's fine. She's still lying in bed. I insisted on making the breakfast today, and I'll take it to her. But don't worry, I made hers too, he said while serving Izuku's breakfast on the table, which consisted of fried egg, miso, tofu, and rice. Izuku, thank you. Hisashi, I'll be right back. I'll take breakfast to Inko, he said as he carried a tray with Inko's food towards the room while Izuku ate. Grin, do you usually eat this? Izuku, it's a common food, Grin. A human thing, as you say. But don't worry, when we go out I'll buy you chocolates, he said while eating. Grin, that's great to hear, because I'm already salivating just watching you eat that, he said watching Izuku eat while Hisashi came close. I bet you could do something better than that. Izuku, you? Just you? Hisashi, I'll try to leave work early again to see how your mother is doing. I'm sure that will be deducted from my salary, he said as he sat down at the table to eat his breakfast. Izuku, she's not making much effort, is she? Hisashi, no, I'm already making sure of that, he said before looking at Grin's face and asking a question. Grin, if I may ask you something, why are you called that? Grin, something wrong with my name? Hisashi, no, nothing wrong, it's just that it's not very common for someone to literally be called Grin name. Izuku, agreed, I was wondering the same thing. Grin, the reason I named myself is no big deal. I just have a good mood and decided to name myself that because I grin all the time, he said while making his smile wider, which was creepy in the eyes of the two men of the Midoriya family. What is it? Don't you humans like to grin? Izuku, it's not every day we see a grin So, Hisashi, as extravagant as yours, Grin, he said with a crooked smile while sweating a little because of the symbiote's hideous smile. Grin, you both are very weird, he said as he went back inside Izuku's body. Hisashi, look who's talking. End of soundtrack. An hour later, Hisashi had already left for work while Izuku got his uniform to go to Aldera, and at that moment our protagonist was at the door of his house. Inko, please take care, Izuku. Inko was at the door watching her son about to leave. And please, Grin, take good care of him, okay? Grin, sure, don't worry. I'll be glued to him 24 hours a day. Hee. Izuku, you shouldn't worry about me, Mom. You should be worried about yourself, he said in a serious tone. Inko, nonsense. I'm not that weak. I can take care of myself. Izuku, are you sure? Anything. You can call me and I'll come running. Inko, yes, I'm absolutely sure. Now go or you'll be late, she said with a smile as she lightly pushed Izuku by the shoulders, giving the signal for him to go. Seeing this, Izuku pulled away and started walking towards Aldera, but Grin was curious about Izuku's concern. Insert soundtrack to the Cemetery Marco Beltrami. Grin, I don't usually ask this, but why all this concern about your mother? Izuku, she's sick, he replied in a sad and serious tone as he continued walking. Grin, what? Obviously, Grin was surprised by what he heard. Izuku, my mother has a disease in her heart, and the treatment for that is not cheap, he said as he walked along the sidewalk while Grin continued to listen. My mother is suffering from weakness, chest pains, dizziness, or even nosebleeds. This happens when she exerts too much effort. She cannot lift weights or even run. Grin, Izuku, that's why I want to become a hero. If I do it as soon as possible, maybe I can get enough money for my mother's treatment. Grin, since money is the issue, why don't you do some jobs or maybe rob a bank? Izuku, and where will my dignity go if I did that? What will my mother think of me? These questions left Grin silent. I already tried that to get some jobs, but my parents didn't allow it. Especially my mother. She wants me to pursue my dream, and that's what I want to do. Not just for me, but for her, he said in a serious but determined tone. Then please, Grin, don't make that suggestion again. Grin, I see. Even saying that, Grin started to feel compassion and somehow empathy for Izuku and a soundtrack. Ochako, Aizu. Hearing that voice, Izuku turned around and saw his friend running towards the boy, who smiled when he saw her. Izuku, good morning, Ochako. Ochako, good morning. Anyway, do you know what quirk you have? She asked curiously as the two walked together. Izuku, yes, I already know, and he said while scratching his head, which left the girl confused. Let's just say my quirk isn't that nice to look at. Ochako, what do you mean? Before Izuku could respond, Grin decided to finally show his face by stepping off Izuku's shoulder. Grin, hello, he greeted with his wide smile, but as he did so, the girl obviously got scared and took a step back. What's the problem? Don't you humans like to grin? Izuku, Grin, you weren't supposed to show up like that. Grin, and what's the problem? I just introduced myself. Izuku, Sai, that's not the problem. You can't just go public like that. It's risky. Ochako, Aizu. What? What is this? She asked while pointing to Grin, which caught the attention of the new duo. Izuku, so, this thing. Grin made a fake cough, clearly not liking being called a thing. I mean, he's my quirk. He calls himself Grin. Grin, she's Ochako, she's my Grin, your girlfriend? Huh? Upon hearing this question, both Izuku and Ochako blushed. Izuku, and no, she's just my friend. Grin, calm down, it was a joke. But are you sure? Izuku, Grin. Grin, hee. Okay, I'll stop. Ochako. Anyway, it's a pleasure to meet you, Grin. My name is Ochako Uraraka, she said with a smile. Grin, and how adorable. It's nice to meet you too, young lady. Ochako, come on, we have to hurry. Then I want to know more about your quirk. Learn more about Grin. Come on, we can't be late, she said with a smile as she walked, but Izuku and Grin watched the girl walk away. Grin, what a polite girl. Why aren't you like her, Izuku? Izuku, what? Ochako, Aizu, Grin. Let's go, she shouted while waiting for the two. mainly Izuku. Grin, I liked her. Go there and obey your girlfriend. It was the only thing he said before going back inside Izuku's body, who was blushing at Grin's comment. Izuku, I already told you that she is not. Sai, this is going to be a long day. It was the only thing he said before walking towards the girl, who was waiting for Izuku. Focusing now elsewhere, we see that man, who seems to be the head of that same company that Grin had run away from, he was sitting on the chair while looking thoughtful, until his room door opened and one of those scientists came out, but even that man was still sitting. Unknown character. Did you find Guinea Pig 1710? Unfortunately not, sir. But because of that escape, we've beefed up security and will make sure no more symbiotes escape from here. Unknown character, great. And since you brought it up, how are the other guinea pigs doing? These symbiotes are pretty stubborn and hostile, but we're doing what we can to make the experiment work. Unknown character, and I hope none of them run away, because you already know what happens when I get pissed. Even though he said it without looking at the scientist, that was enough to make the man in the jacket swallow dry before leaving. Until suddenly the cell phone that was on the table starts ringing and looking at who was calling. The man got a frown on his face, but he still answered the call. Unknown character. Hello, Cletus Casati, said a man's voice, who said the man's name with disgust. Cletus, what do you want now? Shigaraki? The man known as Cletus asked with disgust. In a convenience store, we see a man who appears to be over 20 years old, brown skin, with a beard and short hair. He was sitting listening to music on a small MP3 player. At the same time, he was reading something on his cell phone, until he heard the shop doorbell open, and looking at who entered, the clerk smiled. Unknown character. Look if they aren't my favorite customers, he said with a smile when he saw Izuku and Ochako entering the store. Good morning, my friends. Ochako, good morning, she greeted while waving. Unknown character. What will it be this time? Potatoes with All Might stickers? Mochi? Izuku. No, I just came to buy some chocolates, he said as he entered the store to get some chocolates from the shelves. Unknown character. Chocolates? What for? You've never been one to eat that. Ochako. It's not for him, it's for someone else. Let's say Aizu awakened a quirk that has its own life. Unknown character. Oh, so that means you now have quirk? He asked, a little surprised, as Izuku closed at the counter with 5 chocolate bars. Izuku, yeah. And since my quirk has life, he needs to eat, and chocolate is the best option he has, he said a little nervously while scratching his head. Unknown character. Not something you see every day, but understandable, he said with his hand on his chin, until he saw Izuku grab his wallet to pay for the chocolates. You don't have to pay me. It's on the house. Izuku, what? Are you sure? Not only him, but Ochako was also surprised by what they heard. Unknown character. Of course. You two are my favorite customers, and since it's an understandable necessity, I'll leave it up to the house, just this once. Grin, I like this guy. Go ahead, enjoy, it's free. Izuku. Thank you so much. I really don't know how to thank you, he said while taking the backpack from his back and keeping the chocolates inside. Unknown character. Don't worry about it. Just come here a few more times. Ochako. We really appreciate it. Come on, Aizu. We can't be late, she said as she left the store. Izuku was going to leave too, but before that the attendant said something. Unknown character. Is your mom okay? Izuku, huh? Ah, yes. She's making less effort, but she'll be fine. I hope. Unknown character. That's good to hear. And Izuku, I want to tell you one more thing. His comment attracted the attention of the protagonist. Don't give up on her. I'm not only talking about Inko, but also about her, he said while pointing to Ochako, who was waiting for Izuku outside. Neither of you should give up. Izuku, we won't, he said with a smile. Thank you, Emmanuel. Have a nice day, was the only thing he said before leaving. Grin. Seriously, I like this guy. Could he give me more free chocolates? Izuku. Don't even think about abusing his kindness, he said in a scolding tone. Upon seeing the young people leave, the attendant named Emmanuel simply turned to the readers with a smile on his face and said, Emmanuel, don't say anything, folks. They don't need to know. It was the only thing he said before going back to reading what was on the cell phone screen. Outside, the young people were on their way to Aldera, with Izuku picking up each piece of chocolate and handing it to Grin to eat, which he did quickly before going back inside Izuku and so on. Ochako, if I may ask, what else can Grin do? Izuku, so we haven't tested it yet, but according to his words, Grin can. Izuku stopped talking when Ochako and Grin, who was seeing through Izuku's eyes, saw a bunch of people near an alley where there were 3 police cars around. Ochako, I wonder what happened? She asked, curious and worried. Izuku, problems. When they passed by all these people, Izuku, Ochako, and Grin managed to see, for about 2 seconds, 3 bodies without heads. And those bodies were those of the men Venom killed them on. At that sight, both Ochako and Izuku were shocked and horrified. As for Grin, he was intrigued and curious. Ochako, I heard that there were some deaths around almost every night. She said, a little nervous and worried as the two walked. Who is doing this? Izuku, I just know that Japan is getting more and more dangerous. Opening moment. Insert contagious nerd out. Our opening starts showing the streets of the city of Mizudafu, and in the middle of the people we see that Eddie Brock was walking among them. Board up your windows. Deadbolt your doors. The new voice within me. Yet come for more. As Eddie walks, we see several police cars passing by on the street. He left for a few moments, while Eddie remains serious. Start running. I can't stop the dark, I'm coming. Suddenly, Eddie stopped walking in the middle of other people who also stopped walking. And the reason? Everyone was looking at a screen, which showed the face of a criminal on the loose. It's Takin control, but I love it. And Eddie seeing that, he got more serious as he walked away, but Venom was smiling inside. I'm painting it black now, and there's no erasing. I'm in like a virus, and this pain's contagious. No one's coming to save you, and this pain's contagious. Changing the time of night, we see that across the buildings of Mizudafu, Venom was jumping and climbing between the buildings. At night, Venom has his party killing criminals, eating their heads, and leaving their corpses at crime scenes. It didn't matter the size or the quirk. Venom managed to sink his teeth into his victims' brains while Eddie just watched. And here we see that Venom was on the edge of a building as he watched the police and heroes at the crime scene down the street investigating. And that scene just made Venom smile. You can pick your poison, or it can choose you. And I never felt so good. Baby, that's the truth. Back on the city sidewalks, we see that Izuku was also walking among the people, looking thoughtful while he was serious. Even this guy stopped walking when he saw on a screen that the criminal mentioned before was on the loose, and that made Izuku get serious before walking. Start running. I can't stop the dark, I'm coming. Izuku was so distracted in his thoughts that he didn't even realize he bumped his shoulder into someone who was also walking. And when he turned around to see who he bumped into, the person also did the same thing. It's Takin control, but I love it. And that person was Eddie Brock, and as they faced each other, both Izuku and Eddie eyed each other suspiciously. Fast forwards music to this time here, 2:15. I'm painting it black now, and there's no erasing. I'm in like a virus, and this pain's contagious. No one's coming to save you, and this pain's contagious. And this pain's contagious. Switching scenes, we see that Grin in his true form was running through the city buildings, but unlike Venom, the time was daylight. And here we see that Grin was beating, smashing, or kicking away whoever tried to attack both him and Izuku, until a villain jumped towards him, but had his neck grabbed by Grin, who slowly turned his face towards the villain, who swallowed hard when he saw both Grin smile and Izuku, who was looking at the villain's scared face. And this pain's contagious. And our opening ends with Izuku and Eddie facing each other, face to face with people passing by. They weren't staring at each other because they just bumped into each other, but for an ulterior motive. And that involves both Grin and Venom, who indirectly were also facing each other, both with a macabre smile on their faces. End of opening. With the little time that passed, Izuku and Ochako finally arrived in Aldera, where many of the students were whispering and talking about yesterday's event about the slime villain's attack. And in the halls, many also commented about it, but Izuku didn't care much. Unlike Bakugo, who was bothered and irritated by the whispers while many looked at him. Bakugo, then looking at what? Your extras? He shouted irritably while the students didn't look at him anymore. Upon returning to walk, Bakugo saw that Izuku and Ochako got separated because Izuku went to the school bathroom while the girl was walking to the classroom. Upon seeing Izuku enter alone, Bakugo decided to enter to take satisfaction with the greenish one. Inside the bathroom, Izuku stepped inside to do number one. So far, so good. But Grin watched. Grin, out of curiosity, what's this funny thing? Izuku, can you stop looking at? He said, blushing when he saw Grin look at Izuku's package. And when he finished doing number one, Izuku went to wash his hands. Grin, I'm just curious since you showered this morning. You humans have a funny place to put a big, thick antenna like that. He said in a serious tone while his eyes were narrowed. Izuku, gee Grin, for God's sake. Listen, there are questions that are impolite to ask a person, even more so when talking about the private part. He scolded as he finished washing his hands. Grin, but we're together, literally. Doesn't that make us close? Izuku, what I mean is, Bakugo, Deku. Upon hearing this scream, Izuku and Grin, who was inside the boy, turned around and saw that Bakugo had just entered the bathroom, and he wasn't happy at all. Bakugo, we didn't tell anyone, did you, Deku? Izuku, huh? Bakugo, don't play dumb. I'm talking about what happened yesterday, he said irritably while grabbing Izuku by the collar of his shirt. You didn't say anything to anyone that you helped me, did you? Izuku, first of all, no. I didn't say anything. And second, that attack was recorded, and if they're talking about you, it's because they saw you on the recordings. Seeing that Izuku was speaking the truth, and that he was right about that, Bakugo simply pushed Izuku, who fell to the ground. Bakugo, you better not say anything, otherwise you're dead. You piece of trash, was the only thing he said before walking out of the bathroom. As he got up, Izuku saw a symbiotic mask come out of his shoulder, and when he looked forward, he saw that Grin took advantage of Bakugo's back and was going to eat his head, but Izuku pulled him through the mass, thus preventing Grin from killing Bakugo, who left without noticing anything. Izuku, what are you doing? Grin, what do you think? Let me eat his head. Izuku, did you forget what we talked about yesterday? You're not going to eat anyone's brains. Grin, it's not just about eating brains. It's about getting rid of him. I saw in your memoirs what this guy did to you, including the suicide advice. And that little twerp reminds me of another symbiote I knew and I hate like hell my strength. He said, clearly irritated. Izuku, look, I understand you, Grin, really. But no, we can't kill him for reasons like that. Grin, and may I know why? He asked while looking into Izuku's eyes, who also stared at him. Izuku, because if you kill him, I'll be the culprit. And even if I let you kill him, that won't make me a good person to be a hero. And another thing, like it or not, he's a civilian and we can't attack civilians by simple words. He said as he walked to the door to leave. Grin, excuse me, just simple words. Izuku, look, I really appreciate your intention, but believe me, it won't be worth it, he said as he turned and looked at Grin's face. Seeing the sincerity and the tone of the greenish man's words, he decided to listen. Grin, okay, if that's what you're saying, he said as he went back inside Izuku's body, who opened the door. But can't I just take a bite or break his nose? Izuku, maybe, he said it with a light smile. Grin, I felt a little yes on that maybe. After walking into the classroom, taking his seat and having the class continue, Izuku spent the time taking notes on Grin, who passed information to the boy. Grin, out of curiosity, why you take these notes? Izuku, because it's my hobby, he replied in a whisper. Grin, you're what? Izuku, my hobby. I enjoy to spend my time taking notes on quirks, even though I don't have one. But of course, Izuku needed to concentrate on the class, even if Grin found it terribly boring. Everything was okay until Izuku felt something small being thrown against his face. And when he saw it, it was a small ball of paper that was thrown by a student with a long neck who was holding back his laughter. Izuku didn't care and continued to pay attention in class, but the other students around him kept throwing paper ball and hitting Izuku, who was uncomfortable but preferred to remain silent, until someone decided to take a piece of paper, made a little plane, and threw it in Izuku's face, who looked at the student who threw it, and he had a mocking smile. What is it? Did you lose your eye here, Deku? Before Izuku could say anything, Grin decided to speak first. He replaced Izuku's eyes and teeth with his own, looked at the student, and said, "Grin, why don't you hit your mother to see if she liked that?" Not only he, but the other students were not only shocked by Grin's monstrous voice, but by his eyes and teeth as well, which were quickly replaced by Izuku's eyes and teeth, who was shocked as well. Izuku, teacher, is there a problem, Midoriya? Izuku looked ahead and saw that his teacher was in front of him, curious. Izuku, sorry that happens when. I'm hungry. Teacher, listen, could you solve that equation for us? He asked while pointing to the blackboard, where there was a very difficult math account. Izuku sighed, got up from his chair, and walked to the blackboard while the students were wanting to laugh, except for Ochako and the teacher, mainly the teacher who stared at the students with a disapproving look. Izuku, this account is complicated to resolve, but I know what to do, he said while picking up the chalk. Grin, wait a sec, I know the answer to that. Izuku, you know? Grin, of course. Let me show you. Izuku. Grin, please don't embarrass me. Suddenly, Izuku felt his arm move without his orders, and he knew that it was Grin's doing, that by controlling the greenish man's arm, he quickly solved the math problem in a few seconds. And that made both Izuku and everyone else in the room speechless, not only because of the absurd speed, but also because Grin was specific in his explanation. Grin, that's one of the perks of living in space, he said smugly while Izuku turned to everyone. Izuku, so, that's it. Teacher, great job, Midoriya. That's correct, he said with a smile as he walked towards the front of the room. It's good to see that we still have students who spend time thinking about the class instead of wasting time throwing paper at others, he said while looking at the students from before. Midoriya, you can go back to your seat. Since you played paper, I want you to go clean the classroom at break time. What? They shouted in disbelief. Teacher, complain less and study more. With that said, the teacher continued with the class while Izuku sat back in his seat, still stunned by what just happened. He even looked over at Ochako and saw that the girl was giving Izuku both thumbs up, implying that she was happy for him. Grin, you're welcome. If there were any that weren't happy about it, it was Deku, who didn't like the fact that he had stood out and received the teacher's praise, and the students who had been bothering Izuku before, who glared at him angrily. Then they faced each other and thought about how they're going to teach this Deku a lesson, and it would be at the end of the class. And just when the class was over and the students were leaving, Izuku and Ochako were leaving together, not noticing that they were being followed. Ochako, how did you do that? Izuku, well, let's say Grin still has a lot more to show than I thought. Ochako, I'd really like to know what else Grin can do. Oh, we're here. She said that as she stopped and faced a shop where she sold mochi. Izuku, well, I was suspecting why we came here, he said while scratching his head. Ochako, can you wait for me here? I promise I won't be long, she said as she walked in. As soon as she entered, Izuku suddenly felt the collar of his shirt being pulled violently into an alley before being thrown to the ground. Looking up, Izuku saw that in front of him were those students from before. Thought you were going to get off easy, Deku? Asked the guy with stones on his fingers. You will still pay for the shame you put us through, said a guy with a square mouth and pointy teeth. And it won't do any good if you try to run, said a guy with an elongated neck, while a student who was the tallest in the group was pumping his fists. Izuku, listen, you don't want to do this. Trust me, he said in a worried tone as he showed his hands, giving the sign that he didn't want the situation to get any worse. But the response he received was just laughter, which made Izuku sigh. He, just stand still so I can teach you a lesson, said the taller student who ran towards Izuku, who felt his arm move, and suddenly, a tentacle came out of his arm, grabbed the student's face, and threw him against the ground a little before Grin made Izuku pull the arm, which consequently pulled the big one and threw him against a wall behind him. Insert music. Hell broke loose Tom Waits. When they saw that, the rest of the students were speechless, including Izuku, who saw the tentacle return to his arm. What was that? He has a quirk. What did you do, Deku? Asked the student with stones in his fingers. Izuku, who had his back to them, turned around and said, Izuku, it's not what I did, he said before Grin showed his teeth and his eyes on Izuku's face. Grin, That's what we're going to do now." Upon seeing that, the students were startled by the large white eyes and several Grin teeth on Izuku's face. But even so, they still had a bit of guts left, either because they were outnumbered 5 against 1, or because it was just Deku. The student with pointed teeth advanced towards Izuku, who felt his body being commanded by Grin, who made a tentacle grab the student's leg, not only making him fall to the ground, but also throwing him to a garbage can near the alley where they were. And as for the big student who was thrown from behind the alley, he got up and was going to attack Izuku from the rear, but Grin had already noticed that. Then the symbiote simply made a tentacle literally come out of Izuku's back, thus attacking and pushing the big guy against the wall once more. "Izuku, but what the—" "Grin, just relax, let me take care of it," he said as he made his tentacle grab the student's neck with stones in his fingers, and he threw him on top of the other one who had an elongated neck, until a student who had long fingers got close to Izuku, who, thanks to Grin, wasn't hit by the punches he had, until Grin used Izuku's left arm to grab that student by the neck, making him feel suffocated before being lifted into the air. "Grin, who's Deku now, moron?" he asked before throwing the student violently against the wall, making him groan in pain. "Izuku, Grin, don't kill them." "Grin, I'm not going to kill them. I'm just going to make them feel pain. A lot of pain," he said just before the student who was thrown in the garbage came out, all dirty and stinking, and obviously he was pissed. "Izuku, just don't kill them." Wanting to use his teeth to bite and hurt Deku, the student rushed towards them with his mouth wide open, but Izuku dodged, sending the square-mouthed student slamming into the wall, making him feel pain and stunned. Izuku already felt something in his 2 hands, and looking at them, he saw a symbiotic mass connected in the palm of both hands. "Izuku, what is this?" "Grin, it's not this, it's me." "Izuku, sorry." With that in his hands, Grin wrapped that symbiotic mass around the student's neck with his square mouth, pulled him over Izuku's shoulder to be thrown violently against the ground, but Grin didn't stop there. He lifted that student and simply threw him against the big one, who would get up, but because of the body that was thrown against him, once again he hit the wall. Meanwhile, Ochako was leaving the store to buy her mochi, but on the way out she bumped into someone. "Ochako, oh, I'm sorry." "Eddie, no, I'm sorry. I was distracted on my camera and didn't pay attention." He said that because he was distracted by the photos he took recently. "Hey, aren't you that girl from yesterday's incident?" "Ochako, and you're that independent reporter, right? Isa told me he met you before. Thanks for defending my friend," she said with a smile before bowing quickly to Eddie, who smiled slightly. "Eddie, no need for that. Speaking of your friend, how is he?" "Ochako, he was here just now," she said when she saw that Izuku wasn't around, and that worried her. "I better look for him." "Eddie, got it. I'm in a hurry, but if you see him, let him know I said hi," he said before entering the store. Upon hearing this, Ochako immediately started looking for Izuku, starting to worry if something had happened to him, until she heard noises in a nearby alley, and they were Punch's noises. Returning to where we left off, we see that Izuku saw where Grin threw the student from before, and that left the green one with his eyes wide open. "Izuku, oh my Jesus. Look, I'm serious. Don't get up. Stand still while you still can, please," he said, worried. Not for him, but for what Grin can do to them. But what Izuku didn't notice was that student with stone fingers was running and wanting to attack the greenish one from the rear, but Grin noticed. Seeing this, Grin had Izuku's right leg covered in the symbiotic mass, which is Grin's form. "Izuku, what are you?" Before he could finish asking, the symbiote made Izuku do a backflip and hit that student's head with stones in his fingers, making him face down on the ground. As for the student with the elongated neck, he thought of using his neck to suffocate Izuku, but to his surprise, Grin simply took Izuku's shoulder and stared at the student through his eyes, not only making him startle, but also head-butting him in the nose, making him groan in pain. "Grin, wow, I'm sorry. I don't know what came over me. I should have hit harder." It was the only thing he said before hitting the elongated neck student in the nose again. Only this time it was harder, thus making his nose bleed. With that student was lying on the ground with his nose bleeding while crying in pain, while Grin went back inside Izuku's body, who was left with his mouth open. But before he could say anything else, that big student got up, and he looked angrier than before. Izuku, this one's going to be hard. Grin, hard for you. Focusing on Ochako, she slowly looked down the alley, and what she saw left the girl speechless. She not only saw those fallen students, but also saw Izuku having both of his arms covered by Grin's symbiotic mass, thus forming two large and strong fists. With their left fist, Izuku and Grin held back a punch from that student, who was going to use his other fist to attack, but Grin, now Izuku. Izuku, I'm sorry, this is going to hurt, he said before punching the big student's torso with his right fist, who kept screaming in pain with every punch he received, be it in the stomach, in the chest, and in the groin, where it hurt the most. Well, that punch in the groin was made by Grin, not Izuku. Izuku, Grin, sorry, I couldn't resist, he said without regret. So to finish it off, Izuku decided to knock the big guy down with a punch to the face, and that single punch was enough to make him fall to the ground, and he wouldn't get up anytime soon. End of song. Grin, ha ha, look at that. See how good it is to put these idiots in their place? Wasn't it very good a punch? Izuku, Ochako. Izu? Hearing the girl's voice, Izuku quickly turned around. Are you okay? What happened? She asked, surprised and curious. Izuku, so they started it, I swear, he said nervously while Grin used his tentacle to grab the lid of the trash can and hit the student's head with his square mouth. Is it serious, Grin? Grin. He would get up. Ochako, that was amazing. Normally I wouldn't approve of that, but since they asked for it, then I say it was amazing, she said with a smile on her face, and that was enough to make the boy blush as he scratched his head. Grin, there's someone in love. Izuku. Anyway, we'd better leave now. Izuku decided to ignore Grin's comment. Saying that, Izuku and Ochako walked away, but before Grin made the green one stop, and by making his eyes and teeth replace Izuku's, Grin looked at the fallen students and said, Grin, here's the thing, you bunch of idiots. If any of you dare to tell anyone about what happened or dare to bother one of us again, I will come back and break every single one of your fingers, and it will be as painful for you as it will be delicious for me. Hearing that, the students shook in fear and nodded their heads while looking at Grin, thinking it was Izuku who was saying that. And seeing that, Grin made Izuku's eyes and teeth return to their place just before the boy and the machi lover walked together. Ochako, so, have you figured out what else Grin can do yet? Izuku, yeah. More than I could imagine. Grin, believe me, Izuku, I haven't shown you much yet. As he spoke, we see that Eddie had left the machi shop while eating one, and so he went the opposite way that Izuku, Ochako, and Grin were going. Grin, by the way, is there any more chocolate in there? The next day, Dagoba Beach. The weekend had started, and the sun was rising, and right on Dagoba Beach was Tashinori, who had just finished tying a rope to a refrigerator that was in the middle of all that garbage, until he heard footsteps approaching, and when he turned around, he saw that Izuku had arrived. Tashinori, it arrived sooner than I thought, he said with a smile. Izuku, well, I said I would come, didn't I? He said as he got closer. Tashinori, I'm glad for your decision. Anyway, let's your training with. Izuku All Might. Upon hearing his name, Tashinori looked at Izuku and saw that he was scratching his head and looked nervous. I need to tell you something. Tashinori, what is it? Is it something really serious? Izuku, no, not that serious. I mean, I don't think it's. Tashinori, young Midoriya, tell me soon, I'm getting scared. Izuku, so, remember I said I was a quirkless? Tashinori nodded. So it looks like I was wrong. Tashinori, wait a minute, does that mean you have a quirk now? He was surprised, and his response was Izuku, rubbing his head as he looked around. That's great. But what quirk do you have, if I may ask? Izuku, so, that's the problem. My quirk isn't something very common. He has a life of its own. Tashinori, Izuku, yes, he said while Grin finally decided to show his face. Grin, good morning. Tashinori, oh my goddens. But what is this? He shouted scared because of Grin's face while hitting his back on the fridge from before. Izuku, calm down, All Might, he's my quirk as I said. It was right that day that he woke up and communicated with me after our conversation. He said while he stood in the middle between the two. All Might, I want you to meet Grin. Grin, hee. For the #1 hero like you got scared pretty easily when you saw my face. Toshinori, and how can you not be scared? Wait a minute, if he has life, then that means. Izuku. Yes, he's inside me and sees everything I see and hears everything I hear. But don't worry, he won't tell anyone about your secret. Grin, besides who would I tell, huh? Izuku. And despite his scary appearance, Grin is nice, he said with a smile. Hearing that, Toshinori looked up at Grin's face, who was smiling to give the blonde confidence, which it worked for, but it didn't either. However, he trusted Izuku, and if Izuku trusted that thing, then so would he. Toshinori. All right, nice to meet you, Grin, he said as he extended his hand. But what took his hand was Izuku's arm with the symbiotic mass around him, and obviously Toshinori thought that was strange. Izuku, like I said, he's inside me. Toshinori, this will take some getting used to, he said while sweating. Anyway, let's start your training. 3 minutes later, we see that Izuku had the rope around both of his fists while pulling the fridge, and to All Might's surprise, Izuku was managing to drag the fridge with the #1 hero sitting on top of him, and Izuku showing difficulty. All Might, oh my godness, I never thought that losing a little bit of weight would make me so light even in this form. Izuku, how much? How much do you really weigh? He asked as he stopped pulling. All Might, 255, at least in my hero form. Izuku, you want to kill me? All Might, hee. I never said it would be easy, but what I'm really surprised about is that you managed to drag that fridge a little while I was sitting up. I swore you'd get more tired than that. Izuku, now that you mention it, I never thought I would have this much strength, he said while looking at how far the fridge was in the place before. Grin, I'm the one doing this, he said while appearing on Izuku's shoulder. All Might, you were pulling? He asked as he got down from the fridge. Grin, yes, and not at the same time. It's Izuku who was pulling, but because I'm inside him, my strength is automatically his too. So let's say I'm helping Izuku indirectly without doing anything. This information surprised both of them. All Might, that might be a good advantage, but even so, young Midoriya still needs a proper body. Izuku, huh? A proper body? All Might, no offense, but you're quite thin, young Midoriya. Even with Grin's strength within you, you still need to have a very strong physique because my quirk requires it. After all, One for All is the ultimate physical ability of many people in one. Grin, fake off. All Might, well, in the case of now, it's a person and a half, let's say, he said looking at Grin. If I gave you the One for All to you with your physique now, your body wouldn't take it and all your limbs would explode. Izuku, I prefer not to imagine, he said while trying to get that imagination out of his head. So my training is to take all this rubbish off the beach precisely to improve my body? All Might. Right answer, he said as he turned to the fridge. But that's not all. I did some research, and I found out that this place has been like this for many years. Grin, has all this been dirty for years? Izuku, unfortunately, yes. For some reason, because of the water currents, many objects came here. So people took advantage of illegally discarding garbage, and the locals don't see it here either, he said while looking at the place. Grin, and I thought that Clintar was disorganized, he thought as he looked around while All Might stood behind the fridge. All Might, young Midoriya, nowadays heroes only care about flashy things, he said while crushing the fridge with his hands. Before, being a hero was a voluntary service. Even though many found it a drag, we can't forget what a hero really is, he said when he completely smashed the fridge, and when he did that, All Might made Izuku and Grin able to see the horizon of the sea with the sunrise. Grin, wow, he said that while being impressed, not by All Might's strength, but by sight. All Might, young man, your first job will be to restore the skyline of this entire area. See this as your first step towards becoming a hero. Izuku, do I have to clean all this up? All Might, you want to enter UA to be a hero, correct? Izuku, yes, that's my intention, he said with determination. It's not just my dream, it's my promise that I want to keep. All Might, wow, that must be pretty personal. I like that, he said as he turned around. Anyway, Even though you have a quirk with a life of your own now, that doesn't mean it's going to be easy, even managing to enter the hero course. So since we're going to need to train your body, you'll need this," he said, while handing Izuku a bunch of paper with lists. "I created this whole schedule to help you during these 10 months. Of course, I just didn't expect that we would have help in the middle of all this." Upon taking those papers, Izuku and Grin saw a lot of planning, including time, what to eat, and what to do. In Izuku's eyes, that was a lot, but in Grin's eyes, that would be easy. "All might. Like I said, this won't be easy. Think you can handle all this?" "Izuku, I've already made my decision, and the answer is yes," he said in a serious and determined tone. "Grin, then let's start now," he said in an excited tone. "Insert music. Hero a Boku no Hero soundtrack." From here, the 10 months of hellish training had begun. In the beginning, Izuku took lighter things like tires. From what he read, different sizes and shapes required different muscles. And as expected from us, Izuku didn't suffer so much in the beginning due to Grin being inside Izuku's body. Of course, the boy got tired of being still thin, but it could have been worse. Of course, Izuku not only had to worry about physical training, but also about eating and studying. And in these two parts, Grin decided to give extra strength, all to get something in return: chocolate. Obviously, Izuku needed to buy chocolate, not only for Grin to feed himself, but to regain his strength, and it worked. In the moments of study, Izuku found the solutions and Grin controlled the boy's arm to write down what his host wanted. When it was time to eat, Izuku ate what the list requested while Grin only ate his chocolates. Ochako had noticed that Izuku appeared tired sometimes in class, but the boy always said that he needed to train alone to get to know his quirk better, and, as much as the girl wanted to help, she left him alone so he could get stronger. And as the months went by little the beach got less rubbish, but that didn't mean it was a reason to relax. On hot days, Izuku trained. On rainy days, Izuku trained. At home, Izuku trained. In the nights, Izuku would go out and train. Even with Grin's strength in his body, Izuku was starting to overdo it and push the limits of what his physique could handle. And at this moment, we see that Izuku was pushing an abandoned truck, but before he could continue, Grin made his body stop. "Grin, don't you think you're overreacting a little? Take a moment to relax." "Izuku, I can't. If I stop, I'll relax, and if I relax, I'll give in. I have to clean this place up. I have to do this for my mother," he said with a serious and determined tone. Upon hearing this, Grin began to better understand what Izuku wanted and what his intentions were. With these months they spent together, Grin never questioned him doing this without taking a day, one measly day, to rest. And when he understood what Izuku was feeling during that time, Grin let his compassion get to him and decided to do one more thing: give him one more extra strength. "Grin, then let's do this together now. You don't have to do this alone anymore." Hearing this, Izuku was surprised what Grin said before smiling. "Izuku, together now." For her. By saying that, Izuku got more strength and continued pushing that truck without as many difficulties as before, all thanks to Grin, who found himself willing to help more, even not using the symbiotic mask for all that. And during one of those months, Eddie was passing by, and without Izuku, Grin, or Tashinori noticing, Eddie saw what Izuku was doing and was impressed. So like a good reporter, he took a picture of Izuku removing 2 old microwave ovens on each arm, and another photo with Izuku holding a stove and taking it from the beach. With those shots shot, Eddie simply smiled at Izuku and walked away without saying a word. And he didn't even have to. End of song. February 26th, exam day. Time, 6:08 a.m. The beach was already clean, and all the garbage that was on it was no longer present. And at this moment, we see that Izuku was sitting on the sand with Grin watching the sunrise. And here we can see that Izuku's physique has changed a lot. Now he was much more muscular, and consequently, taller than before. Grin, so this is what it feels like to have sand on your finger feet? I like that. He said that for the simple fact of having his symbiote mass around Izuku's feet, while the symbiote's face was looking at the sea. "Izuku, see? I said it's good, right?" he said, with a smile while Grin chuckled. "Hey, Grin." "Grin, yes?" "Izuku, Why did you do all that? You know, saying those words and giving me more strength. Insert soundtrack. Aftermath, Daniel Pemberton. Grin. It was no big deal. Maybe I like you a lot. His words caught Izuku's attention. You know, I thought that humans were weird, strange, and Earth was just a pile of land. Izuku and Grin, and still is. Izuku, oh. Grin, but I saw that I was wrong. Honestly, when I met you, I only helped you just to be able to survive and feed myself, and in these months, I finally saw that you're someone really nice, really, and the Earth. This view alone made me see that this planet is more than I thought. Those words made Izuku smile. Izuku, and you're way more than just an alien with a creepy grin. Grin, at least I'm prettier. Izuku, not by our standards. Have you thought about taking a closer look at yourself in the mirror? His question made them both chuckle. Thank you, my friend, he said while looking at the sea. Hearing that, Grin looked at Izuku, surprised that Izuku called him friend. And that made Grin feel good. Grin, you're welcome. My friend. End of soundtrack. Tashinori. Young Midoriya, Grin. Hearing that voice, Izuku and Grin turned around while the Green Man got up to see that Tashinori was running towards them. All Might. You did it, young Midoriya. Look at all that, you did it. Izuku, well, I wouldn't have made much progress if it wasn't for my friend. Grin, that's nothing. Don't stop. Say more. All Might. I'm impressed. Not only is the beach as clean as ever, but I'm also impressed by your physique, young Midoriya. You're much more different than 10 months ago. Hearing that, Izuku looked at his body and saw that indeed, his physique had improved a lot, and it left him speechless. Izuku, can you believe I didn't notice that? He said with a crooked smile, and his question made both of them sweat on their heads. Grin, you trained so hard you didn't even notice the changes. Unbelievable. All Might. Now, it's time for your reward. Young Midoriya. All Might plucked a hair and held it. All Might. I was once told that there is a difference between someone who got something by luck and the person who deserved it. And what you did today, even with your quirk, you deserved it, Midoriya. Never mind, forget about it. Izuku stared at All Might in awe at these words, before closing his right fist. The hero held out his hair to Izuku and said, All Might, now eat this. Izuku/Grin, what? So, this was the end of part 1 of this series. Stay tuned for next part of this series, and if you like this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Until next time.